Hello and welcome to What the Tech from Boast AI, where we talk with some of the brilliant minds behind new and exciting tech initiatives to learn what it takes to tackle technological uncertainty and eventually change the world. I'm Paul Davenport, Boast resident tech journalist, and today I'm thrilled to welcome Athena Collective's co-founder and CTO, Mikayla Stewart. Across her career, Mikayla has been a strategic operations leader who has served as a fractional COO for 12 plus stealth stage startups, turning thorny or chaotic early stage businesses into well oiled machines. More recently, she's been building custom AI powered applications that solve operational problems without the bloat of unnecessary SaaS applications. At Athena Collective, Mikayla and her team have created a warm, welcoming community designed for every woman with a business dream, whether she's just starting out or looking to scale her empire. Athena Collective ensures that every female entrepreneur has the resources and tools they need to achieve success, regardless of background or bank account. So, it's an incredible mission that we're proud to support here at Boast, and I can't wait to pick Mikayla's brain on her journey through the tech ecosystem and what's on deck as Athena Collective grows. So, without further ado, welcome to the show, Mikayla.
Hi, thanks for having me. And what an intro. So nice.
We were talking about how we were doing a lot of creeping back and forth in terms of looking at each other's socials and our LinkedIn before I hit record on this, but I'm happy to hear you approve. And I really mean it when I say that this is an impressive background. And I got lots of questions. I'm not going to throw curveballs at you, but you have been through the ringer. You have seen lots of different stages. You've seen businesses across industries, but I really want to know, Mikayla, what got you into being an entrepreneur or getting into the tech ecosystem in the first place?
Yeah. So entrepreneurship was very much built into me like as a kid. My dad always instilled into me of like, there's always something else. Who cares if you fail? Like there will be another door. And so I think like that and combined with like my mom is British and like I was very like rigid and structured and like my grandmother was a very British woman. And my dad's dad was like a Marine. So like there was a lot of structure, but also like a lot of freedom to fail and explore and all of these things. And I think when you put that all together, you get someone who's just like, I don't know, let's just see what happens. But you approach it with like such structure and like we're just gonna tackle it one thing after another. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
I love that. So again, you kind of got like the infrastructure to not over examine things when they don't fall the way that you wanted them to, but also to like be able to catch yourself when maybe you fall off of that infrastructure because you had the upbringing, you have the support, you have, again, I can really relate to that British background and the Marine background too, just because we were talking before the call. I'm in Boston, you're in Vancouver. Similar ethos, I feel like, in terms of kind
Yeah.
of the people who are brought up in those ecosystems. And it's not just all about the weather, which is usually what I defer to, but that's super interesting. I also love too that it was something that was instilled to you while you were growing up. Goes without saying, obviously, but a lot of the founders we talk to on this show, like I'm always expecting to hear like, "Ooh, it sparked while I was in college," or "Ooh, it sparked while I was like at this already established business." No, it's something that was ingrained with you, and it was something that, again, you needed that unique perspective to even have the hunger to go do something else, which I think is so cool. So tell me a bit about how you're parlaying that hunger, if you're okay with me characterizing it that way, into what you guys are doing at Athena Collective.
Yeah, Athena Collective has really been born out of frustration. Like I think like a lot of startups happen. Previous to this, I was at Bit3 and we were a consulting company. And when I was there, I got to work with so many startups across the US and Canada. And it was roughly like even split between men and women. And I love giving back to female organizations. I'm a mentor with the forum. And basically, like any chance I have to like volunteer with women, I'm always in it. But the thing that like always drove me insane was that like if I would give feedback or advice to a male founder, they're like, oh, let me call this guy, or like I know someone who's really good at this. Like they just have this Rolodex that never ends. And I don't get it. I don't understand how it's just instilled into them. Whereas all the females I was with, they were just like, so like, where do I start? Like they always went into like, all right, we're here. Like, what's next? What do we do? And I was so frustrated and annoyed that like that has to be where women are at. They don't have the people to call and they don't have the support. And even a lot of the organizations that do exist to support, they do it in kind of a gross way. You know, they're looking to take advantage. They're looking to just like have the like DEI initiative checked off. Like that's not going to do anything. And so I wanted to fix it, and my co-founder wanted to fix it, and we wanted things to just be easier for other people.
I love how you characterize that. And so I know Sarah, your co-founder, a little better than I know you so far, but she would characterize it exactly the way you said, in a gross way. Like, it's just kind of like, hey, why is there a boys club? And I mean, obviously, I'm male. I have my contacts, but I also know that like what I think is unique about I don't want to say the Canadian tech ecosystem, but I do think it's unique to the Canadian tech ecosystem is that when I go to the road shows, like when I go to SaaS North or I go to Web Summit or I go to any of the tech events that we have, there was always actually dedicated female groups. And I don't know how recently that came about because I'm relatively new to the Canadian tech ecosystem. That is not something that you see without a cynical lens in the US at all, to be honest. I think that to your point, it's a lot of checking boxes in terms of just like, okay, so we need to hit this DEI requirement, or whatever the passing fad is in the US today, we're making sure that, okay, well, we're appealing to an audience we can sell to. That's not what you guys are all about. You're not trying to sell something necessarily out the gate. You want to make sure that you can lift all ships with the ecosystem that you're building here. How have you brought your experience working at all the different startups and also just like operationally understanding how to build a successful business to the Athena Collective and the community? And what does that look like in practice, I guess?
Yeah, so I'm really big on like community is not going to solve all the problems. Like, I love community, and there are so many that have been a part of my career that have been instrumental, like the Old Girls Club run by Mallory Contoy out of New York. It's a side group. Or Women in Tech. Like, there's so many of them, and they're great, but they're not everything. They don't replace the tactical know-how. And so Athena Collective is, yes, we are bringing women together from 0 all the way through to exit. Largely, I know a lot of the women who are in, like, the 0 to, like, early stage. Sarah's a lot more of the people who are closer to exit, which is great because then we immediately, like, cover all ends.
Good enough.
Um, but I really wanna complement that with, like, the technical know-how and the tactical pieces. So, like, what does it actually take to, like, define your sales process or, like, audit it? What does it mean to create an ICP if you're more of, like, a traditional business like a real estate agent? How do you figure out who your client is? These are questions that you should be asking, but you don't necessarily know how to figure out those pieces. And so I want our tech to be that thing that we're going to pull together the what questions you need to be asking, how you go through finding the answer, and who's going to help you apply those answers as you go to move forward in your business.
I love that. All right, I'm just taking some notes. I tend to go into a fugue state when I'm listening to
Okay.
something that really piques my interest on these calls, but that was incredible. Okay, so thinking about the platform too, and talk about how folks can take advantage of the platform to actually accelerate and activate on everything that you just talked about, because I think that's actually a critical piece. You have a like operations background, but you're also very technical. And you actually hit the nail on the head when you were talking about how Sarah has like those maybe more mature companies where you can get the more tactical stuff, but it alludes to what we were talking about earlier. There are people in the boys club who have access to both of those sides right now, and you guys are bringing that to the girls club more or less without being exclusionary. What does the platform enable to help actually make sure that people can tap into these resources and take advantage of your expertise in the technical space and Sarah's expertise as a GTM all to star? Again, I'm in marketing on my side, and I've learned a lot just being in emails back and forth with your team. So I want to hear how's the platform going to really pour gas on that flame?
Yeah, so I have built a recommendations engine that captures information about who you are as a founder. We're going to be expanding that as well and building out like almost like a 55 question assessment basically to like really understand like what your strengths are, what you want to be as a founder. Are you trying to build something that like just pays the bills, or are you trying to build the next unicorn? And like so we take all of that, then we take what you're building, who you're trying to sell to, what you wanna unlock in your business, what are the walls you're hitting, and, like, how do you respond best? How do you learn best? Are you, a person who wants to just, like, dive through articles and, like, really dive into all the different resources? Are you someone who wants to go to workshops and talk to people and, like, really think critically through activities? So we have all these different data metrics we capture, and then we also look at what you're looking at on the platform, who you're looking at, all of these regular metrics, and I built this algorithm that then takes, okay, you're at this stage, you seem to be really focused on operations right now. Here's a learning path that you can go through that's going to help you with where you're at right now, your business type, and what's the questions you should be asking that'll help get you to that next step. And we're really just like helping increase like skill competency as like an owner or a founder in these different spaces, which has been so incredibly hard to build, but so fun.
Oh, and I can only imagine it's rewarding too when you actually see everybody taking advantage of it. And one thing that I heard you saying without even saying it, like full stop, was you're meeting them where they're at. Like this questionnaire and being able to understand, like, let's get to the nitty gritty of your business, what you need, what your vision is for all of it. Building an ICP, even. Again, I said it earlier, but I'm in GTM and God, our ICP, I've been with Boast for a while. It evolves, you know? I mean, like, we think we know who our target audience is, but it also changes with like geopolitics. It changes with so many different things, just market considerations. But I think you hit the nail on the head in being like, okay, we're going to understand where your business is, but not be prescriptive necessarily. We're going to make sure that you can find the lane that will actually speak to you and will actually speak to what your needs are and be a good salve to all the issues that you might be having in getting your business off the ground, which I hope is a fair characterization because it sounds like a winning formula if you're asking me. But that is so, so cool, Mikayla. Now, I'd love to know too. So, platform is launched, the community is being built. What are you guys working on next? Is there anything else for like Athena Collective? I know it's like early days and you guys are kind of just on the rocket ship as you're growing the community and bringing more people onto the platform. But where are you at now and what can we look forward to?
Yeah, so it's actually really funny. We actually launched our like current version of the platform the week of my wedding while the team was at Web Summit. Like this was all 1 week of like I am our I am our tech builder. I do all of it me. And so I was putting features into production while like doing the painting for our table signs and like the calligraphy for the seating chart and like answering messages from the team at Web Summit of like, here's what we're working on. And so we were so caught up of like the chaos that comes with like life and startup back in May. And like, okay, let's just like get all these pieces and the groundwork laid. And now what I'm looking for is like, okay, well, if we know where you're at and we're meeting where you're at and we're looking at, what are the pieces that are really going to help you grow? The next piece is really going to be that like smart education component. So one of the big things that we do is there's actually not like LLM in our platform. And it's very on purpose. I love LLMs. You will see it on my LinkedIn. I talk about them all the time. I use them all the time. I mean, me and Cursor, we're like this. We have built the platform together. I Cursor is my coworker. Um, but it's not going to help our founders if everything you're doing is just taking this problems you need to solve, and we throw it into an LLM and surface up document after document of how to answer these questions. That's not valuable. I want to make sure that as a founder, you have the foundational skills and knowledge to be able to take your business where you want to, so that then you're empowered to be able to question things when either a consultant or an AI gives you back information of here's where you should go next. I think there are critical questions you need to be able to answer as a founder to be truly successful. And there is like foundational business knowledge that's really critical to know. And honestly, like most of the business books I read are like from the 70s because they were so tactical. They were so clear cut of like, do this, do that. And it hasn't changed. New business books are just fluffier language of the same thing, but it's kind of harder to pull out the insights. And so I want to bring us back to more of the clear cut tactical foundations and putting that into the platform and surfacing up the things that aren't fluff and aren't surrounded by like Instagram virality language to like help founders get to the core of what they actually need to be doing and focusing on to be able to grow their business to where they want. Not everyone wants a unicorn. Some people just want to maintain within the rate of inflation. But growth has to happen no matter what. Otherwise, you're under the rate of inflation and then you're not winning.
That's
um,
the world we live in.
yeah. But so taking all of these pieces and tying them together and really continuing to find like as we grow outside of mine and Sarah's networks and we start to have people who are coming from all over the place, like we had a random influx of members from Australia one week because we got featured in the Female Startup Club newsletter, which is based out of Sydney. And then I had to go dive into like, what are the tax rules for entrepreneurs in Australia? Like, how can this be valuable to them? So they had a bunch of resources. And I actually had a member come to me and she was like, I didn't expect anything about Australia. And I was like, well, you're here. I wanted to make sure there was something for you.
Oh my God. Okay, so first things, congratulations on the nuptials. So that's amazing. It sounds like you guys had a very busy May, 1 week in May. Lord,
Yep.
like that is a lot to take on at once without like being stereotypical. I think that very much speaks to the female community and what you guys are able to accomplish, but also like willing to put forward. Like there are people who would have put that on a shelf. I know a lot of dudes who really do not take time away from their weddings. And so
Yeah.
again, I'm just like kudos to you without getting too in the like binary lanes of it all. But I love everything that you're saying too, and about just the willingness to get back to fundamentals because to your point, I live and breathe content and I am our content guy and I'm on the marketing team. And when you're talking about AI fluff, oh my God. Like it's one thing if you're reporting on like new federal legislation, but if you're just trying to regurgitate the same like business building jargon through a new lens or through some whatever Instagram like jargon has been thrown at you today, I'm just like, it just gets more confusing and then it gets more diluted and it becomes less actionable. And so I really like that you're making it actionable and it's not pulling from something that just like I'm saying something new for the sake of saying something new. I'm saying what works. And I want to make sure that you can cut through the clutter and get to what works. So I didn't say it as beautifully as you did, but like I do think that like that is fundamentally what communities like this are for, and also, again, what platforms need to be designed for. I think people just throw LLM or AI at any problem, and then you get the fluff, and then you get the clutter, and then you don't actually know how to action on things because it's all just like with each permutation getting less and less actually like informed. So love everything you were just saying there, and I think that that's all very exciting. And also, too, tell me a little bit about the global footprint of what you guys are looking for at Athena. So we got Australia in there. I wasn't sure if this was just a North American mission, but I think it's global, and I want to hear more about like what other regions, what other speakers, like what's available here.
Yeah, so it was the Australia was so random. But I love it, and I love the members that we have that have come from there. I actually just got back from 2 weeks in Europe where I was at Slush. So Helsinki Ventures had me come out, and we're gonna be doing a podcast with them later. And it was so incredible because I'm talking about our mission with founders from Lithuania, and I was met with a hacker house based out of London that's an all-female hacker house, and I can't think of any other one of those that exists in the world,
That's awesome.
right?
Yeah, sorry, that's
It's actually
incredible.
you
Yeah,
you couldn't
yeah.
even do that in Canada. Like, there's rules around how many non-related females could live together in a house in Canada, otherwise it's called a brawl, which
You
is
read
so
my
funny.
mind.
Love that. But like, so we're starting with Canada and the US because our networks are here. Um, we're going to be expanding into like English speaking countries because I haven't translated our platform. Um, and like Western Europe because those are kind of the easiest. But I mean, it's a global challenge. And there's 252,000 registered female majority owned companies in the world. That doesn't include anyone that like has a female in the minority. That doesn't include unregistered companies because like data shows that a lot of women don't register their companies because they think they're just like hobbies or they haven't been given the power to like really grow things beyond like I take my craft to the market. And so there's a lot of women out there who need help. So I guess we're gonna figure out how to tackle the entire world, which why not? But even if we don't, even if we never really make it outside of Canada, US, Australia, and the UK, maybe we have a couple people, I still know that if one person tells me that they've grown their business however X amount, or they've hit their goal they were looking for, my mission is accomplished because one person had a difference from us. And that's all I care about is that we are making a dent in the problem because I have no illusion that we will solve it. But I want to see how far we get into it and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we can boil the ocean. We're not on the mission to necessarily boil the
Yep.
ocean, but if it's out there and we can, we will. So I love to hear that that's the ethos that you guys have behind all of it. And again, it's actually it's so similar with the ethos behind Boast, just because sure, we focus on the US and Canada because that's where our networks are today. We got friends around the globe. We'd love to help them with their R&D tax credits. We don't want to necessarily overextend ourselves because we know where our expertise is. And we're also not trying to go outside of our swim lanes because we're not going to pretend we know how to do. I wish we could do Ireland tax credits, for instance, just because they're so lucrative. I'm like, that would be great. I think that's where we want to go, but we want to help our friends here. And it's not about necessarily building unicorns, it's making sure they have what they need to make it actually happen. Boast was built out of personal relationships. And again, I'm in Boston. It's a Vancouver based company originally, but I mean, like, I'm still here because I personally really believe in everything that we're doing. And I want to see this through. So I love that that's kind of what you're taking with you globally on the road show. And again, it's like we got our buddies and we want to make sure that they can succeed. And then we want to spread the love and make sure that our successes can be modeled and then actually actioned on a global scale. So love everything you just said there, Mikayla. That was awesome. So again, what's next for you and your team? I think we kind of alluded to it a lot, but are there any like events that folks can look forward to within the next 3 to 6 months, or any maybe new products or new platform features that we could maybe have people set their calendars towards?
Yeah, we're gonna have more of an official, like, curriculum product within, our platforms probably starting in January. I'm, like, halfway through it right now. I figure it's, like, maybe 2 to 3 more weeks. I move so fast as, like, a single developer. I'm really impressed myself is because this is, like, my first proper build of just me. Although I do have to give credit to my husband because he fixes our database architecture sometimes, and he has to listen to this a lot. Um
I give my partner credit sometimes. He's
Yeah.
okay.
We're gonna be at Web Summit next year, so I'm gonna have a booth in Vancouver. I'd love to see people there. Um, I also am gonna be doing the, like, A16Z Tech Week circuit, so I'll be doing New York and Boston and San Francisco and LA, and I'll be hosting Athena events at all of them. I usually love doing, like, walks or, like, just things that, like, have your body moving because I do ultra marathons, I do triathlons. I'm very much like a moving the body person, as evidenced by the bikes
I was
behind
gonna
me.
say you don't say. Yeah.
Yeah. And so leaning into those pieces, I think are really critical during Tech Week. And then I love the Women in Tech Regatta in Vancouver as well, which Athena will also be at, because I love it so much.
That is so cool. Okay, well, I know one of the few things that I hear every time that I'm in Canada and I'm talking to people who are like, "Oh, you're from Boston. We thought you were from Toronto or something like that." They're like, everybody runs there. So you're gonna have a marathon like sprint when you come to Boston and you get the community together because we're all joggers and we all share that ethos. And I think it is reflected in our ecosystem. Again, it's not a Boston Vancouver love fest, but I'm seeing a lot of the similarities between what our priorities are and what yours are too. Because same, I'm like I meet my buddies who are in the tech space for a jog, or we go for a bike ride along the trails or something like that. So you're doing it all right, and I agree with everything
And
that you're talking about there.
I have always loved my every time I come to Boston, I end up in this networking event where we run a half marathon along the river. Every single time. I don't know how this happens. Every single time I'm there, but it's so fun and I highly recommend it. And I also always stay by the common and then I'll walk there. And I get so many steps in while I'm in Boston. I love it. It's so good.
Oh, Mikayla, I'm like, now I want to extend this for another half hour because, again, I went to college on the Common. I jog along the trails. I know exactly the route that your team took, well, that your crew took on that because that's what we do spontaneously. We'll meet up for like a tech event. I'm like, okay, I'm like, everyone's legs are antsy, right? Like, I'm at a standing desk right now. I'm like, we're going to go for a jog, but it's fantastic. And again, It's reflective of the great work that everybody's doing over at Athena. You and Sarah, again, bring so much good energy, but you bring the good resources and you bring the goodwill. I think that's really the crux of everything we've been talking about here is it's non-cynical. It's really about making sure that you can share the resources where they're relevant and meet people where they're at and bring that goodwill so that we can all succeed together. And so female founders, anybody, honestly, reach out to Mikayla. I'll make sure that there's contact info in the show notes. But Mikayla, this was an absolute blast. Anything else you want to shout out or anything else we can look forward to or any cheerleading we want to do for anyone in the Athena Collective before we do a formal shine up?
Oh, I do want to do a cheerleading for Caitlin Marin. She is doing SEO and AEO, and she's one of my favorite humans. Just on the planet. She listens to so much and she puts up with so much from me. But she is easily like the person to go to if you need SEO. She helps Athena a lot. So I do need to shout her out. And honestly, I don't know what else we might put into Athena. I add new features like weekly and like my brain just like goes on spirals. So like our product looks so radically different all the time. Honestly, like just having people sign up and like seeing what works for them and people like put in requests and I'm like, we can do that. Um
Well,
so
it's like you weren't anticipating that Australia outreach, and you're like,
no.
okay, well, we need to have some resources for this community here now. So
Yeah.
I think my message to everybody listening, sign up. Sign up so that they can dive in, and then Mikayla can try to really customize this to make sure that you're getting everything you can out of it. So music to my ears. All right, one last thing that I'm actually just remembering, and I know that we're over a little bit, but if you have another minute, my last well, not even guest. I was having a chat with my friend Sophie, who I actually met at SAS North in Ottawa last month. So right after Budget 2025 dropped. She is incredible. MOVA is the name of her solution. It's geospatial
Mm.
architecture and event planning and things like that. She's very involved in a lot of tech communities, but she was like, Paul, for your podcast, start asking your guests to pose a question to the next guest. And I was like, without them knowing who the next guest is? And she's like, yeah, Paul, you've done this before. So I was like, okay, I'll stop playing dumb. But Mikayla, what would you ask the next guest of What the Tech? And again, we're talking to founders, we're talking to people who play in the ecosystem.
If budget was not an issue and you had all the startup capital in the world, what would be the problem you solve?
Amazing.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
I'm like, I'm going to just ask that regardless of going forward, because I think that's actually the crux of everything we're talking about here. If you had your funding, how would you change the world? Like, come on.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, Mikayla, I can't thank you enough. This has been an absolute blast, and this is perfect.